Floddigary on the Trottenish Peninsula, which is one of the peninsulas that sticks out north of Portree and is a very, very curious place in terms of the rock formations, the geology and the general freakish landscape in this part of the world. I'm climbing into a part of the world called the Quiraing, which is essentially a big long escarpment facing east, and it's one enormous great big landslide. It's the biggest landslide in Britain, and it's resulted in all kinds of strange fractured and splintered pinnacles, which just see starting to appear over here out of the gloom, out of the mist. When I say it's a landslip, probably thinking of something about the size of, I don't know, a tennis court or something sliding down the hill, but this thing is massive. It's miles long, running from north to south, and a whole chunk of land is very, very slowly, imperceptibly falling, sliding eastwards towards the sea, which is that way. There we go. See these things appearing now. That's where we'll be going, up amongst those. It's a really, really surreal, imposing place, even without the murk and the cloud, with these enormous, great big prows of crags sticking out. It'll only get more intimidating as you get higher. Oh, it's windy. So all of this here, this is all the volcanic lava flows that were left after 60 million years ago, once all the volcanic activity subsided. We're just left with lots of layers of sedimentary rock, and on top of which was very, very deep deposits, up to 300 meters deep, of volcanic rock, of lava flows, these things up here. And that enormous weight of all that really, really dense volcanic stuff on top of the sedimentary rock has found weaknesses in the sedimentary rock, and it's fractured or buckled and given way just over time. And also didn't necessarily help having the ice ages picking away at all the rocks as well as the glaciers were covering Skye. So what's happened is that all of this here is slowly sliding down towards the sea, and that's what all of this is. This jumble is essentially all of this slowly moving down here, and that's what the Quiraing essentially is. And the Old Manor Store further down the coast, that famous sort of upside down, that sort of tear-shaped rock, the Old Manor Store. It's the same thing, and it goes down for many miles south of here. But that's what all this is. It's just a great big landslide, the biggest in Britain, one of the biggest in Europe, I think. Anyway, where we are going to go up into the Pinnacles, which essentially means coming up here and into the mist. Exciting. This is it. Start of the up. Oh, very imposing situation. Pinnacles everywhere. You feel like these things are actually leaning down on top of you. And then over there, it's staffing. Stretched out over there. And the sun's actually out. You think when you get here, you go through there, but no. Going somewhere even more improbable through that gap. Yeah, would you believe it? We're actually emerging into sunshine of sorts. Oh, how about that? Well, you can see how this is all just falling away and subsiding, sliding down. This especially. So quite incredible, just all of this here. Fissures, cracks. What an amazing place. But I don't know, let's follow the path through here, see where we end up. Oh my goodness gracious, that's a drop and a half. And hopefully you can see the whole of the ridge. Trottinus Ridge stretches all the way along the horizon, and this is all part of the same landslide, just all the way along. Whole chunks falling away into the sea, and you can see how it's quite incredible. You can see how there's cracks everywhere, fissures, just desperate to sort of move down the hill. It's funny, you're walking along it thinking it's done what it's going to do. It's not going to move anymore, but of course it is. Very, very slowly moving, and the road, even the road actually down Floddigary is subsiding, and it's very, very bumpy, and they're always having to do maintenance works apparently to sustain it. But oh my goodness, look at this. How incredible is this? And the sun's come out, perfect timing. This is incredible. Wow. Unreal. Now this here, curious feature, is called the table, and it's a whole piece of the plateau up there that's fallen away. It used to be up here. You can see how it's sunk all the way down, and all of this wants to come down. It all wants to come down the hill, but it's very, very flat. We'll go up there and have a look just in a moment. There's a strange sense that you need to watch where you're putting your feet, and there's this eerie sensation that the ground could give way below your feet at any moment. Well, it's funny, isn't it? It's just a big, enormous, great big flat area which seems completely at odds with the other features around here, being so fractured and so fragmented with all this stuff falling down. A big flat area of land's the last thing you'd expect to find all the way up here. It's funny. Get a better view for the table from up here. There wasn't sun forecast today, so this is a bonus. I fully expect it to be the only sun I'm going to get this week. There's storms rolling in, as usual, for tomorrow and the day after. So as soon as I saw just a glimmer of brightness and a drizzle stop, staying at the cottage down in Floddigary, I was out the door just like that. Ah, there we go. Another flat area standing on here, which you can see how it's another one that's sunk down from the level of the hill up there. Once you get up to the top of this hill here, it's actually flat. If you approach this whole area from that side, you'd never know this was here. One of those surprises. If you walked up from the west, you'd just be walking, you wouldn't expect to get this enormous, great big fractured escarpment. It's incredible. Oh, it's just superb. It's just pinnacles everywhere, slowly falling away. Depending on what source you read, there's all kinds of stories about what this was actually used for, if anything. There's stories about how cattle would have been hidden up here when they saw Viking raiders down the coast, or even later, and apparently in 17th, 18th centuries, raiders coming in the Jacobite uprising as well, supposedly used for hiding people or things up here. But also, a nice story is that it was used for playing shinty, which I don't know if that's true or not, but it's nice to think that people came up here and played every year an annual game of shinty. It's certainly flat enough, although you want to think twice before you actually went running towards the edge. Of course, all of this landslip stuff didn't just happen one day just like that. It was a very gradual process over millions of years, although I think the consensus seems to be in all the material that's been written about this place that certainly the biggest features, like the needle which is down there, the table here, and there's another peak called the prison, and all the other all the little pinnacles around here, they were all done in the last 15,000 years, so most of the damage was done when the ice was melting the last time, so about from 15,000 years ago onwards. But it's a curious place. It's a proper little labyrinth of chasms and gashes in the rock, and you can see why you'd find it potentially quite difficult to find your way around in mist and murk. So in one sense, I suppose I'm glad that it has cleared up, because I'd been to these bits before, but I'd not actually been to the table before. Now that I see it in daylight, I realise I've actually skirted around the outside of it, but never actually never actually saw where it was, never actually saw it from up there to know that it was there. So I was pretty much there. It was right under my nose, but because of the mist and the murk, I couldn't actually see it. Ooh, and there we have the needle. Very impressive. It's about 120 feet high, I think. Every single little snaking track going up to a rise gives way to another amazing view of this stunning rocky architecture. And you have to wonder how stable all this is, because that won't be there forever. None of this will be. This will all come down eventually. I keep telling myself that there's no reason why it shouldn't happen right now, today, that something shouldn't fall from up there. But just keep my fingers crossed that it doesn't happen. Oh look, and just for some scale, there's some people down there. There they are. This immense place. Isn't that incredible? Wow. That's really quite something. So much rock, it's incredible. I think it just appeals to the kid in me. I could just stay up here all day exploring. It's incredible. Oh my goodness. Well, don't worry, I'm not going down there. For somebody more adventurous than me, I think. Well, on the way back down, I quite fancy going down to look at the needle, which could have been taken via any of those gullies that were down there, but I've not been up or down any of them, and I've been down this one, and I know that I can get down this one. I wouldn't want to halfway climb down something and realise that I'm stuck. I don't doubt there are ways up those gullies, but Play it safe, especially when you're by yourself. Funny, look, that enormous shadow. One of the pinnacles there. That enormous. What an amazing place. Well, there you go, that's a view of where I was just now. Actually, I was up peering through that gap, and I was somewhere up at that gap as well. And this is the prison. Well, it's not much colder, it's windier, it's more exposed. Even though I'm getting wonderful views that way. Wonderful views up there. I'm going to head back down that way, which isn't the way I came, but that goes to the road, and I'm going to get picked up at the other end. So I've done a nice linear route for a change, which is unusual for me. I usually end up doing only circular ones, so that makes a nice change. But you can see how the escarpment carries on all the way along there. The road from Staffing goes through there, but I'm going to join the road down there. There's a car park down there. It's funny, you can sort of feel the weather changing. It feels worse down here than it did up there in the sunshine. I think that's probably going to be my lot for the week. With rain and storms coming in, I think I've done quite well just to get this brief little tour of the Quiraing. What an amazing place though.